If you're an appointment setter that has been looking for a cookie cutter replicatable process, or maybe you're even somebody who's been doing appointment setting for a while, but you're looking for a process and a framework to allow yourself to be booking in more higher intent leads and actually getting them to show up to the call on the next step. Because let's be brutally honest, if you've been doing appointment setting, or if you're just getting started into appointment setting, it's easy to book people in, but it's hard to get the people who are sort of on the fence booked in to actually show up to the next part of the call, which is your entire job as an appointment setter. So what I've done is I've gone and put together the exact framework that I get my appointment setting team to follow when they're on the calls or leads. So take people who are sitting on the fence, who have been thinking about doing a decision for a while, into a qualified prospect who actually shows up and ends up taking action to the next step of the call. So make sure you get your coffee. This is like my third one for today so far. And if you feel like you're going to get some value out of this video, drop me a subscribe and also give this video a like as well. So when it comes to actually doing appointment setting there, the first thing you need to do is understand your mission and what your actual role is as an appointment setter, right? Most people think it's just about booking in people into a calendar, but it's not really that. Because if you think about it, if you're just booking anybody and everybody into the calendar, your stats are probably going to be the worst. You're going to be flooding the closers calendar with unqualified prospects. So your job as an appointment setter isn't to necessarily just set appointments, but is understanding what leads end up making the best appointments for the closer in the next step if you end up wanting to be the best appointment setter, right? So most leads who come through ads online or that are sitting there in the database that you're reaching back out to on behalf of your clients or your business aren't necessarily motivated, but they are interested in looking at actually using a service like yours. So your goal is to convert somebody who's interested but not motivated into a motivated action-taking prospect who is ready and keen to see what the next step has to offer for them. So they're comfortable where they are now, right? They sit there and actually think about the psychology of most of these people. They're comfortable, right? They've been thinking about saving on tax for 6 years, but it doesn't worry them too much because they're earning good money now. They've been thinking about getting their teeth done at the dentist, but they haven't because it's maybe not that big of a deal when they're comfortable with not having the best smile in the world right now, right? So your role is to make comfort the enemy of action with the actual prospect itself. So the way that we do that is by getting them to talk about their current situation, which I feel like sounds super simple, but not a lot of appointment setters actually go that next step and get them talking about their current situation. We want to help them feel what's not working right now. Because everybody knows what's working, what's not working right now, but do they feel it? And when people feel it, they're more likely to go out there and actually make that change. We've also got to show them the cost of staying the same, where they are now. What's the cost of not moving ahead? What's the cost of moving ahead? We've got to make them aware of both outcomes, right? We've also got to paint a clear and attractive future that they actually want to go and get. So the shift is we want to get them from their present thinking, which is all the behaviors, the actions, the thinking patterns that have led them to never actually making the decision and taking the next step that they actually want to do, right? So we want to shift them from their present thinking, which is where they're making all those decisions, to future vision. Having an understanding or even thinking and exploring what the idea could be like in the future using the service or the product that you're trying to set the appointment for, right? So motivated leads embrace a better future, right? Leads who aren't motivated but are interested are never going to embrace a better future. So we need to make sure that we're having these leads motivated, right? Because most of the leads are just feeling comfortable, they're unmotivated, which means they're never going to go up the stairs and never going to get their foot in the door using your product or your service. So when people see the future clearly, which is the key word, clearly seeing the future, majority of the time they're just going to say yes and progress to the next step naturally, right? So we want to understand why people delay decisions. Going back to what I said before, you're going to be speaking to some people who have been thinking about doing this exact thing for a long time, right? I'll give you an example. You yourself, or I can guarantee you know somebody who fits this that I'm about to describe, right? You know somebody who's working a job that they don't like. They have every opportunity out there to go get a new job, but they don't because this job is paying enough to cover their bills and each and every single week saving a little bit of money in their savings account. That's why they don't go make the change, because they're comfy now. You know, maybe they will have a shit boss, but that boss isn't shit enough to make them want to go get that new job. So when you understand that psychology and realize that you even have that in some of the decisions that you've been putting off in your life yourself, use that to relate to the leads over the phone. Show them that you care. People don't like to be sold to. People like to get helped from people who actually want to help them, right? That's what's going to make you different as an appointment setter. Is not sounding salesy, not sound like you don't care. about the actual prospect themselves and only care about the metric that you need to hit, which is bookings and calendars, which is wrong. We've got to make them understand why they're delaying these decisions, right? Which is where we go back to humans will default to short-term comfort. It's a bit easier sitting on the couch and, complaining about my missing teeth or complaining about how much tax I pay rather than just booking into a call and actually showing up, right? Short-term comfort. Avoiding effort. They don't want to go the extra mile because it's going to take too much time. I don't want to go in for a 45-minute strategy session. That sounds like it's going to take forever. Avoiding effort. Avoiding change, right? Maybe the change that they don't want to do is the fact that it requires them to go out there and do stuff they've never had to do. Maybe to reduce their tax, they're going to have to sit down with an accountant. And they don't understand what goes on with the accountant, right? So they're trying to avoid the change. There's always a limiting belief that's inside of a lead when you're having a conversation with them towards why they're not progressing and going to that next step. And it's your job as an appointment setter to figure out what that limiting belief is. So this is why some people will literally sit on decisions for months or years and still not act, because they're getting short-term comfort, because they're avoiding any effort, and because they're avoiding any change. So what we need to do to break through that and ask questions, right, that reveal the exact reason to is why they should do it. We want to understand what their past frustrations are like. So tell me, what did it feel like when you looked at your payslip and you saw that 40% of it went to the tax man? Or tell me what it feels like when you had your teeth knocked out from that accident in sport and you weren't able to smile like you used to. Asking all these deeper questions to have them relive the past pain, because humans will only avoid pain or gain pleasure. Now, 99% of the time, people are motivated by avoiding pain rather than gaining pleasure. So we want to be asking those questions that gets an understanding of their past frustrations. We also want to be asking questions to understand their present challenges, such as, so, Mr. Prospect, if you don't mind me asking, what challenges are you facing at the moment with XYZ? Then we also want to understand the future consequences of not doing anything about it. So, Mr. Prospect, would I be right to assume that if you didn't do anything about A, B, C, it could potentially get worse in the future? Would you agree? You want to have them thinking about future consequences of not doing anything. Do you think you're going to get a pay rise and your tax is going to go up? Do you think your teeth and your gums might get infected if you delay something like this, right? We want to be also understanding what their future desires is. So, Mr. Prospect, in an ideal world, with this problem that you're telling me about solved, what is one thing you'd actually be excited about doing again? Getting them to think about the future, right? So we want to understand, why are they delaying the decision? Is it short-term comfort that's got them delaying the decision? Is it avoiding any effort that's delaying the decision? Is it avoiding change that's making them avoid the decision and going to the next step? It could be a combination of all three. But it's your job as an appointment setter to understand that this is just basic human psychology 101 on why people don't do anything and take action and change their own life, right? So your questions create urgency, not pressure. You don't want the prospect to feel pressured to go into the next step, because that's not the purpose of it, right? The power of questions that you want to be asking, because great appointment setters, like I tell all of my team members, we don't sell, we guide them with questions to have them realize that the product or service that we're selling is the best solution to themselves. Because nobody likes to be sold something, but they'll buy something if they think it's the best possible solution for their problem, right? So we don't want to tell them it's the best possible solution. We want to ask them questions which make them realize it's the best possible solution. So this is where your tone can dictate the questions you ask, the curious tone. It's going to open them up a lot more, right? So if you don't mind me asking, Jennifer, what was it that had you click on our ad in the first place? Empathetic. Oh no, so you lost your teeth when it came to playing a hockey match on the weekend and you got the ball smacked into your teeth. Jeez, how are you feeling now? Connecting to them emotionally. Calm and certain. Lead them to a decision. Well, look, Jennifer, you definitely sound like an ideal candidate for our free consultation. Essentially, what's going to happen in this free consultation is when you come into the clinic, you see how I sound calm and certain? I'm talking in the terms of that she's already coming into the clinic, right? That's how we need to be using our tone in those orders in order to get the most amount of high intent motivated leads booked in that actually show up, right? You want to start simple with curiosity. What made you look into this? How long has this been something that you've been wanting to improve? What has stopped you from doing this sooner? These are all questions we need to ask, followed by each other, to get the information that we need to find their limiting belief and the reason to is why they haven't taken action if it's for something that they actually want to do. Right? Then go deeper. How does this affect you personally at the moment? Why is now the right time to finally fix this? I mean, I can see I think it was 11 o'clock last night. You clicked on our ad. What was it about our ad last night at 11 o'clock that made you want to do something about this now, right? What happens if you don't do anything about it for the next 6-12 months, right? You said you've been sitting on the fence about doing something for the last 2 years. Why not kick it down the road for another 2 more years? These are all the questions that we need to be asking these prospects in order to have them realize and actually act and make change about themselves, right? So we're not telling them what to do. We're just planting seeds the entire conversation that we're having with them, right? From the initial inquiry to simple, curious questions, to deeper exploration around their questions, around their motivations, around their desires, around their goals, around their pain points, until we're calm and certain that there's no other reason to us why that they can't come in because they've made an informed decision to come in and take the next step and actually show up to that appointment, right? And then the question ladder, right? So move in this order, right? So stage types of questions to purpose. So surface level, right? Surface level questions. What are the facts? What's their situation? And what's the understand context around it? Emotional. What are their feelings, their frustrations around that? That way we can create a personal connection that installs urgency into their actions and their decision making, right? Consequence. What is the future impact of you having this solved? What is the future impact of not having this solved? We want to be able to build that motivation for them to act, right? Is it actually going to be a bigger problem down the track? These are all the things that we need to be thinking about the prospect when we're on the phone with them. We're going to have them vision, have them see the desired outcomes that they want. So that way that they pull themselves closer to the appointment, right? So this is an example. Surface level, what are you currently doing to solve your problem? Okay, and how do you feel about this problem going on? And if nothing changes in the next year, what concerns you the most about this problem? If we helped you solve this problem right now, what would an ideal outcome look like for you? These are all questions that make the prospect think, which most telemarketers won't ever do because they don't know what they're doing, right? This is why Speed to Lead, my appointment setting agency, is the best in Australia. It's because we ask questions that most telemarketers don't, and we don't actually call up people and speak to prospects the way telemarketers do. We're very anti-telemarketing, which is weird for an appointment setting business, right? So all we want to do is just bridge the gap between them. We want to understand that they're an unmotivated prospect because they're lacking clear direction. They don't know what the future holds if they do it or if they don't do it, right? That's why they're sitting on the fence about it today. Want to be asking the surface level questions to understand their current situation, then ask them emotional questions to connect with their feelings, consequence questions to build motivation to act, and then we get a motivated prospect who pulls themselves towards the appointment, right? So this sequence here will create internal urgency inside the lead. Not pushing us. We're not pushing them into the next step. We're making them realize there's an urgent thing that they need to do now by asking them the right questions, right? So future pacing. Future pacing is the key to momentum. Once you started talking about the consequences of the past, the reasons as why they haven't done it now, you want to have them thinking about already using your product or service. When they're thinking about already using the product or service that you're trying to set them in for an appointment for, it's going to be so much easier for them to make a decision to book in and actually show up. So what we want them seeing is if they act with the solution being your product or service for their problem, what progress are they going to get? What relief are they going to get? What control are they going to have? What confidence are they going to have? Now, negative future pacing, right? Are they going to be going through the same frustrations? Are they still going to be waking up every morning feeling stressed that they're paying so much tax? Are they still going to wake up every morning feeling less confident that they don't have their front 2 teeth and they can't smile correctly? Is there going to be lost time wasted for them? Are they going to have missed opportunities? This is everything that we need to have them realize, because it's not just about solving their problem. It's about preventing a million other problems from actually happening, right? That's where the sale is made. Not in just solving their problem today, but preventing this problem from getting bigger and exploding into other problems, right? So key lines you want to remember is, imagine in 6 to 12 months from now, your problem's all gone, it's all sorted. What actually changes for you personally? Or what changes for you professionally? Now, imagine if nothing changes. What happens then, Mr. Prospect? So you want to have them choose their future. From being stagnant, whether repeating the same frustrations, the mistakes, the actions, the behaviors, losing their time, to realizing that nothing changes and how that feels, to then actually imagining and seeing a positive future sorted in the next 6 to 12 months where they feel progress, relief, control, and confidence in themselves. And you as the person with the solution to their problem. That's all we're doing, right, is we're pairing up people with a problem to somebody who has a solution, and we're not telling them that we're the solution. We're having them realize it through the questions they were asking. If that's one thing you guys take away from this video, is the fact that you're not telling, you're just asking people, you're showing them, right? And then we want to do emotional anchoring. So what I mean by that is we want to tie their feelings to choices. So if you're feeling like that your teeth are going to get worse and your gums are going to get infected, don't you think the best decision would be to come into the clinic? Or if you're feeling that you are getting ripped off with the amount of tax that you're paying and you know you're going to be getting a pay rise in the next 6 months, isn't this the best time to start doing it today? Otherwise, your problem's going to get worse, right? So you want to have them choose an emotional result. Do nothing, feel frustrated, have regret, and feel uncertain about yourself, right? Versus take action, get relief, see the progress, get your confidence, and get your control back. At that point, when you phrase it like that to these prospects, it's really a no-brainer, right? So, I mean, it sounds like you're ready to not feel stuck anymore, Mr. Prospect. That's exactly why speaking to our strategists will help when it comes to look at lowering your tax. You know? And what should I do about my current situation? Do nothing? Well, that's going to lead to more frustration, more regret, and more uncertainty for yourself. What if you take action? That's going to result in relief, progress, confidence, and control of your life. Everything positive that you could have wanted, right? So this action will become the obvious and logical next step in the path of this customer journey, which is then going from the inquiry they made on the ad to the appointment setter, which is you that you've spoken to, you've triaged, you set the appointment, they qualify, they're keen, they're committed, and they show up to the next stage, right? So instead of asking them when they're available next, once you do all the other steps that I've walked you through in order, right? You just want to assume that they're coming in. Because if you ask them, you're going to be giving them full control of the conversation. Instead of asking them when they're free, give them two options. Well, look, I can genuinely tell you're interested in actually making a change about yourself, Mr. Prospect. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm just pulling up our calendar now, and I can see that we got this time and this time available tomorrow. Which one works best for you? Assume that they're already coming in. It's psychology, right? Once you build enough rapport, enough trust, and you explain the future consequences of not doing something, and you also explain the future benefits of doing something, and then assume that they're coming in, you're going to get much higher booking percentages with a higher show-up rate, right? So just assume that they're coming in, lock in the appointment, provide some time options to themselves. Objections, right? At this point of the call, you're going to be hit with objections, but don't view objections as something bad. Objections is the prospect screaming at you, telling you that I'm interested, I just need a little bit more reassurance. Because if they weren't interested, they would have just hit the red button on the phone and hung up on you, right? So if they say, can you send me some info? Yeah, no, absolutely. I can definitely send you some info. But look, to be honest, you're probably not going to get as much good info as it would be sitting on the phone with me that you've got right now. What is it that you are after? And I can help you with it today. Or I can help you with it right now. I'm too busy. No worries at all. Look, we're very busy people as well. But if you're genuinely wanting to be helped with this problem, we will help you find time to come in, or we will make time for you, which is where you're putting it back onto the prospect to have that action and to take that leap to the next step, right? Or I need to check with somebody, or I need to check with my partner. So let's say, for example, that this is for a dental clinic, right? I need to check with my partner. Okay, well, no, absolutely. Go check with your partner. And obviously, at the end of the day, it's your relationship. You're going to run everything past your partner. But if you don't mind me asking, was your partner originally aware about your missing teeth and the fact that it's giving you low confidence at the moment? Yeah, no, my partner is aware that I don't really have much confidence at the moment, and it is sort of, taking a toll on me mentally. Absolutely. And is your partner aware that you're out there reaching out to dentists and clinics at the moment to see what might be some good options for yourself? Yeah, she is, and she's actually fully in support of that. Okay, well, she's in fully support and she's aware of the low confidence you're having. Wouldn't she be super happy and cheerful for you that you booked in a consult with us? So you've just handled that objection, because the objection wasn't I needed to speak to my wife. It was, I'm feeling uncertain. Please give me reassurance that I'm doing the right thing. So once you understand how humans think and operate, and that basically all the leads are the same just about, you're going to be booking in more people just because you can have a real conversation with them. You can have them see the cost of not doing something, the benefits of actually doing something, right? And then the last part here is the overall framework is just you've got to build rapport with them. People don't want to do something or help somebody out that they don't like. Make the person like you. It's not hard. Understand the situation. Get the surface level frustration. Show the cost of not changing. Paint the future that they want. Assume the close, book them in, and confirm their commitment. That's pretty much it, guys. All you literally got to do is build a rapport, get the situation, figure out the surface level frustration, show them the cost of inaction, paint the future, assume the close, get confirmation, and they're showing up. So your identity shouldn't be a telemarketer. You are the guide that helps people make progress through asking questions. Your tone should come across as, I understand you. I care about your outcome. You can trust me to lead you forward. That's how you need to be giving these people the energy over the phone that you have. When you speak with certainty, people will take action. If you don't sound like you're a believer or you don't have any faith in your product or service being the right solution to their problem, neither will they. So all you've got to do is guide people forward with an understanding of their situation and trust. And that's going to get people up the stairs and into the door. Otherwise, if you come across as a telemarketer, you try and push them into something that they don't 100% want, you're never going to get the results that you want. Hopefully you guys got some information from today's video. Drop me a subscribe, drop me a comment of any objections you want me to go over, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.